Are you about to travel overseas for the first time but feel overwhelmed at the thought of everything you need to do before you go?
Well, if that's you, don't worry. We've been there before and we know how it feels.
Hey, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Maddie.
And between us, we've traveled to over 35 countries across the world.
Thinking back to when we first started traveling overseas, we felt unsure and overwhelmed with everything that you needed to do before you set off.
So, as we're in the process of preparing to spend a year traveling abroad, we thought this would be the perfect time to show you what we're doing so you know exactly how to prepare for your first trip overseas.
In other words, this is the video that we wish we had when we first started traveling. So let's dive in.
The most important thing you need to travel overseas is
your passport, because you can't go overseas without having one. It's a formal document that lets you leave your country and enter into other countries around the world.
These can take anywhere from 1 to 2 months to apply for a new one or to renew an existing one. So factor that in before you book your flights. Now, if you already have an existing passport, check the expiry date or make sure that it's not expiring soon.
This is important because some countries won't let you enter unless your passport is valid for 6 months after you plan to depart the country. When we traveled to Bali, I had to renew my passport for this exact reason. And at the time, the demand was quite high. So we do recommend you start this process at least 1 to 2 months out from your departure date.
The next most important thing you need to do is check the visa requirements of the countries you'll be traveling to. Now, if you haven't heard of what a visa is, it's basically a form of permission that lets a non-citizen enter, transit, and remain in a country or territory.
And just make sure that you're on the official government website, as there can be fake and misleading websites out there with incorrect information. Awesome. So with your passport and visa requirements all sorted, you're technically cleared to travel overseas.
But it's now time to decide how you're going to carry your clothes, everyday essentials, equipment, and everything else you need while traveling abroad.
We're talking luggage. So luggage is what you will use to carry all of your personal belongings when you travel overseas.
There's 2 types of luggage when it comes to travel. The first is check luggage. These are larger bags or suitcases that allow you to store a lot more space in your belongings. You'll usually be required to check these in with your airlines before you board, so they can actually load them up onto the plane.
And the second piece you usually will have with you is a carry-on piece of luggage, which is a smaller sized bag or tote or suitcase that you take with you on the plane. It is important to consider where you will be traveling and to choose a piece of luggage that best suits your needs. For example, if you're going to be traveling on mainly paved roads and footpaths, then choosing a piece of luggage with wheels may be more suitable for you. Or if you're like us and you like to travel off the beaten path, go on hikes and off-road adventures, then a large backpack may be better.
Airlines have different rules around the maximum weight and dimensions of your luggage, as well as what you can and can't carry. So make sure to check up on your airline's luggage rules so you'll avoid a stressful situation at the airport, such as sorting your luggage, paying excess fees, or having to ditch some of your belongings.
And if you're planning to bring any oversized equipment like bikes, surfboards, prams, or music equipment, then just check that your airline accepts these, as you may have to pay an additional fee.
Now, let's talk about what you need to do for your health and well-being before you go overseas. Maddie works as a paramedic, so she is far more qualified to talk about this one. Maddie, take it away.
Alright, so having looked after many foreign travellers who may have found themselves in sticky situations or accidents or medical emergencies, and even when I myself have been sick overseas, I know all too well the importance of having your health and well-being dialed in before you go overseas. The first thing you should do is book in well in advance to see your local doctor to discuss any travel and health related requirements ahead of your trip. There's 3 main things. First one being if you are fit and well enough to travel, especially if you have pre-existing medical conditions. The second one being what travel vaccinations you may need ahead of your trip. And the third one being to discuss any medical considerations such as getting your prescription medications filled for the entire duration of your trip. For us, we needed to get a yellow fever vaccination, a course of rabies vaccinations, and some boosters ahead of our trip to Central America. Our doctor also discussed with us the precautions that we need to take for mosquito-borne illnesses that we don't have here in Australia. It is important to consider that these vaccinations can be quite costly and also can take some time, especially if you require a course of vaccinations like rabies. Lastly, just make sure you have everything you need for your personal situation to keep fit and well. Things like a first aid kit and personal medications, some protection gear like a hat, sunscreen, and sunglasses.
That's why I'm so lucky to be with you, because I know that you'll always have me covered when it comes to travel and my health.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure about that one. There's a lot of different things that can go wrong that I can't always cover you for. And that's what leads us to our next very important point, which is travel insurance. Imagine being on your travels when
A family member at home passes away.
you lose your passport,
Your luggage gets lost in transit.
your flight gets delayed,
You miss your connecting flight.
a trip gets cancelled,
Your appendix ruptures and you need emergency surgery.
you break your arm.
Your iPhone gets stolen. These are some of the situations that have happened to us or our close friends while traveling. Fortunately, travel insurance provided a financial safety net for each of these situations. So we can say without any doubt that we are so thankful to have had travel insurance for these moments.
As much as we can dream of the perfect holiday, the reality is things can go wrong, accidents can and do happen, and emergencies can occur. To make sure that you're covered if these things ever do happen, we strongly suggest that you get travel insurance to cover your travel plans.
Depending on the level of cover you choose, travel insurance can provide financial assistance for things such as lost or stolen baggage, missed or cancelled flights, and medical emergencies.
And it may even help you get home if needed for a range of different situations. We also recommend that you do spend time reading and researching the terms and conditions to understand what you will and won't be covered for on your trip.
Next up, we're talking about money, because no matter where you are in the world, you're going to need it to get around, buy delicious food, and most importantly, go on amazing adventures. Depending on where you are in the world, the currency of your home country may not be accepted in the countries you'll be traveling to.
In our case, we have Australian dollars. Now these won't be accepted anywhere outside of Australia. So by doing a quick simple Google search, you'll be able to find the currency of the countries that you're traveling to.
For example, if we were traveling to Peru in South America, we need to have their local currency, which is the Peruvian sol, so that we can buy items when we're there.
So we'll need to convert or exchange our Australian dollars into their equivalent currency.
This process is called currency exchange, and it can be done in one of two ways. Firstly, with physical cash, digitally with an accepted bank card, or a travel money card.
It is a good idea to have at least a couple of methods to pay for things when abroad. Personally, we like to travel with 2 bank cards, a credit card, and usually some cash on hand, as a lot of the countries that we do travel to use cash more than card. Finally, it's a good idea to let your bank know that you are traveling overseas. They usually want to know where and when, and this will help them from unnecessarily freezing your card when they see foreign transactions.
And if you want to learn more about my best money smart tips, then check out this video here.
Alright, so to recap, we've talked about your passport and visa, your luggage, health and well-being, travel insurance, and your money. This brings us to our final part, which is to
Research and learn key information about where you'll be traveling to, which includes safety and travel advice, local laws and customs, as well as cultural and religious practices. In late 2022, I spent a couple of weeks traveling through Peru and Bolivia. Over that period of time, our trip and tour leaders let us know that there was a level of political unrest to be aware of. Fortunately, I was also aware of this before I left, because I'd looked up on some official websites to notify about the history and the socioeconomic circumstances in both countries at the time. Even though we didn't need to be evacuated or there was no risk to us traveling there, it was very good to know and brought peace of mind that if something happened, we were ready to take action. So, before you head overseas, check the official websites for updates on the safety and travel advice of where you're going.
This can usually be done through your home country's travel or foreign affairs website. They often outline key risks and offer safety advice for where you'll be traveling. You may also be able to register your contact details and where you're traveling on these websites, and that is in case of a crisis or an emergency where your home country may need to contact you.
It's also helpful to leave a copy of your itinerary and identity documents with a trusted loved one in case they need to act on your behalf in an emergency or crisis. You should also be aware of the local laws, customs, and practices of the destinations you'll be visiting.
This is because laws differ between countries, and if you're not informed, you may unintentionally break the law. No one wants to be the naive or ignorant traveller that comes across as disrespectful to local laws, cultural, or religious practices.
And that, my friend, is everything you need to travel overseas. But before we leave you, we've got one more thing for you to keep in mind, whether it's your first trip or your 100th.
We believe that you should always carry with you a sense of adventure and adaptability to change.
For example, when we were traveling in central Vietnam years ago, both of us got hit with food poisoning at the same time. This wasn't just bad, this was really bad.
And whilst at the time it was very unpleasant, we look back with laughter, and it was actually quite a strong bonding moment for us as a couple traveling together. Things are done differently in other countries to your home country. So it's important to be able to have a sense of ease, be able to go with the flow and appreciate the differences. And that's the whole point of traveling, really.
So we hope this video has been helpful, and we wish you all the best for your upcoming travels. Take care, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
See ya.
Yoo.